Today, who built that? Available now wherever books are sold.
The Glenn Beck Program.
Bishop Jim Lowe is our guest. I wanted to get him on the phone and find out how things are going in Birmingham, Alabama, where we are going to be at his church, Guiding Light Church, on August 28th, the 5-year anniversary to Restoring Love. And, Bishop, I have a feeling this thing is going to grow a little out of control in a good way.
Well, it looks like it's doing that already. We're getting a lot of people asking questions from all over the nation. So we're ready to try to see what we can do in order to make this be a great event. Event where people come together.
I have a feeling, because it's going to be Friday and Saturday. And let me tell you what happened at 828 5 years ago. We went and we rented the Kennedy Center, and we did a deal at the Kennedy Center. And I had all the pastors and everybody gather there. And there was about 3,000 people that went there?
Mm-hmm.
The next day, we did something open for everybody in just an open space, obviously, in the mall. And there were about 500,000 people there. I don't think we're going to hit 500,000 people or anywhere close to that. But I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of people there. A lot of people there.
We've had a lot of people that have corresponded with us, that the phone lines have been lighting up. And like I said, got people coming from all over, and this looks like it'll be a great thing to do when people come to Birmingham, and where, this is where the civil rights struggle was, the struggle for civil rights. And now as we're coming together, we're talking about all lives matter and the rights of every human being. This seems like this is a good place for that.
It sure does.
To launch forward.
So, Bishop, I did notice that you had to post something on Facebook, and I know you had a meeting either tonight or last night with your congregation, because it seems to me that the post I read on your Facebook page seems to me you're getting some pushback on being with me, and apparently I have a Klan mask someplace. So.
Well, is it in your pocket? Do you have it hidden?
No, I don't. I don't actually have one. Actually,
okay, well,
I do.
Didn't know. They imply all kinds of things. But,
no, I don't.
Quite frankly, Glenn, I don't care about that. What I'm concerned about is the fact that we're unifying together on a principle that we can agree upon. I think people have to recognize and stop looking at one another by the color of their skin or even by what their thought processes may be. And we have to learn to join together for principles that are greater than our things that separate us. This thing about all lives matters is what's important. We can agree on that whether you're black or white. If I could get a Klansman to agree that my life is important, then that's good.
Okay, I want to make it clear. I'm not a Klansman. Okay. So, Bishop, let me just ask you this, because this is on your website or your Facebook page, and I don't know what you meant by this. The question may be asked why I, Jim Lowe, a black man with my background, would be willing to work with Glenn Beck, a white man with his background. My first and most accurate response is, as Jim Lowe, the black man, I would not. But the truth is, I refuse to be defined by the color of my skin and see myself defined by any other man. Explain that a bit. What do you mean by this?
Well, listen, Glenn. Here's the problem, that when people start putting labels on people, they define them. And if you define somebody and a person believes what you define them to be, then their destiny is based upon how they're defined. If I'm told by my parents that I'm dumb, I'm not going to be anything, then my destiny is affected by the thoughts that they've created in my mind. If you can label me and get me to be thinking that I'm not going to amount to nothing because of some name you give me, then that limits me because of how you define me. I refuse to be defined by what some individual wants to call me. I have been defined by my Creator, my God who created me, and only He has a right to determine what I am to become. No one else. And so, therefore, if I'm defined by people as to be a black person, a black man, then I'm limited to what the concepts of what are acceptable norms for black people. I refuse to be put in a box and labeled by what humankind says I am when I have a divine kind that has proclaimed that I'm much more than what man can say I can be.
Bishop,
Does that make sense to you?
yeah, it sure does. Let me. What do you think is happening here? Because I think I've done this before, and so I know this audience, and I know what's coming, and I just know how this is going to work out. But that's not the world you live in. What do you think is happening? What are you feeling?
Glenn, I believe that God has a purpose for all of us. And I believe that this message that the love of God must be heard, and it must be heard at times like these when our streets are being torn up by riots of people talking about justice and no justice, no peace. You cannot do things like this if you expect there to be justice. The message of the truth of the gospel, of the word of God, must be preached, and people must hear it. The pulpits must proclaim it. People must speak out for what the truth is and be unashamed of the gospel. I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ. It is the answer that is the answer to the problems of the world today. I'm more intent on being biblically correct than politically correct. And if that means that some people are going to be challenged by the things I say, so be it, because I'm not defined by a political doctrine. I'm defined by what God says.
You and I both know that I didn't pick Birmingham, and you didn't pick me.
No.
You and I were both there, and thank goodness we have witnesses of it, because it sounds nuts. But when I saw you in an audience that I was speaking to, I knew I had to talk to you, and I didn't know what. Do you remember what I said to you when I first walked up to you?
Yes, along the lines like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say to you, but I feel like the Lord is telling me I need to talk to you.
Correct. And you said back to me, well, I just wrote you a letter because the Lord told me to write you a letter, and I didn't know I was going to be here.
Well, it was that. No, I didn't know that. It was my surprise that we wound up being in your studio.
Right.
I didn't know that.
Right.
I didn't control that.
And I probably wouldn't. I still haven't seen your letter, so I don't know what you even wrote to me.
Glenn, I didn't mail it. It was
you didn't?
That
oh my
I
gosh!
was thinking. I thought to myself. I mean, when I heard you speak about things you want to do, I felt something saying, you need to talk to this man. You need to meet him. And I'm saying, okay, yeah, really, Glenn Beck? And then we wind up getting an opportunity to come to Dallas. And then we wind up that I'm going to be in your studios. I didn't plan that. You know, the thing about it is that we have a choice in our destiny of what we want to do. But God, He's the one that works the purposes out. He's the one who fulfills our plans, who orders our steps. I was sent there to you by God.
So why?
And I know people think that's crazy, but
no,
that's okay.
I don't really care.
I'm a man of God. What else do you expect me to say?
Right, I know.
I give all the glory and honor to God.
That's right. And I will tell you this, Bishop. There are plans and things that I saw in my own head that I don't have the capability, I don't have the staff, I don't have the finances, everything else to do the things that I want to do. And you and I have been, through our people, I guess, have been talking back and forth. I know what's happening in your city now, and I think exactly what I thought was going to happen what I think I've seen is going to happen now. And there's no way I could have pulled it off myself. There's no way any of that. And here you are, a guy who is saying, hey, I think we should do this. You're putting something together that I've already seen without knowing what I am seeing. Why do you suppose that God picked Birmingham, Alabama, and your church?
Listen, Birmingham's been known throughout. It's known a lot of times because of the racial strife that occurred here in the 60s. And it's been known because it's one of the places that they talk about. They always talk about the fire hoses and the dogs and everything. My father grew up in this city, and I grew up in this city. I'm familiar. I saw the fire hoses. I saw the dogs. I made mistakes sometimes of going to a white fountain, and my mother hollering at me, saying, "Move! You can't go there. You can't go there." I've had to go to the bathrooms that were the colored bathrooms. I know about all of that. That's what our history is of Birmingham. But I choose not to remember that history. I choose to remember that we've overcome those things, that we've achieved a great, mighty things in this city of Birmingham. We have a black mayor now. We have city council predominantly black. We do things. We're excelling. We're moving forward. We don't need to always look back at our past and point the finger at somebody. We need to look at the future and look at how we can come together. And what I believe, it's through the love of the Lord that we come together, that we join hands. If you came to Birmingham now, if you look for it, you may look to find trouble and racism. But you know what? I live here. I don't see that much of that. There may be others that do because they look for it. But I look for the human beings that are here that have a heart, that are looking to make this city better. And that's what Birmingham is becoming. That's what Birmingham can show the world.
I find it remarkable that the guy who walks in to my studio is the guy who was not only at the city where Martin Luther King began, but also at a time when the country is pulling itself apart, was the epicenter of some of the worst stuff of the 1960s. And we're going to be able to show an explosion of black and white and love coming together. I mean, I think only God could design something like this.
I give credit to him. I give that glory to him. And to be able to be a part of this is an honor to me. But all I want to do is to let people know, even for my city, I want them to know that it is because of Almighty God that we've been able to hold together. You haven't heard of anything like what happened in Ferguson or Baltimore. You haven't heard of that. In most of the South, you don't hear of it. Because what we have in our churches, in our black churches, and in our white churches, most of all, you're getting taught the Word of God. You're not getting a watered-down mixture of what God says or what some man feels. You're getting the truth. And it's that truth that holds us together. That's what unifies us. When we begin to understand the brotherhood of mankind, that all people, black and white, whatever, Asian, Hispanic, that we're all creatures of God, and all of our lives, we've been created by God for a purpose. And when we honor that, we fulfill what God has for us to do. We learn to work together, to share together, to build together, because God put us here together.
Bishop,
if he didn't want us to be together, he would not have put us together. And that goes for you and me, Glenn.
Bishop Jim Lowe, he is from Birmingham, Alabama, the Guiding Light Church, where we are going to kick off a tour and a speaking engagement all around the country. This is the only one that we have announced, and this is the first one, and I believe this is going to become historic. All part of our Never Again Is Now campaign to bring attention, to wake up our churches, and bring attention and aid to those in the Middle East who are being slaughtered in Allah's name because they either don't worship Allah, they don't worship Allah enough, they worship a Christian God, a Jewish God, or they just live a different lifestyle than what ISIS says is acceptable. That must stop, and we must stand together as one. Bishop,
Glenn,
yes, sir.
Glenn, we must stand together for what's going on in the streets of America, too. We must stand together and recognize that the lives of those blacks and whites and policemen, they all matter also. Listen, if I can rise up above my church where a bomb, they tried to kill me and how many others there, and I'm ready to still stand together in love for other people, all lives matter. If I can overcome it, others can overcome.
Bishop, I love you. Thank you very much.
God bless you.
God bless you. Bishop Jim Lowe. You can find out all the details at glennbeck.com or at mercury1.org, and we ask that if you would donate, the proceeds are going to go overseas and help us on this campaign. And we are being very, very careful with the funds. We We want to make sure they're going exactly to the right place. We have some really tremendous partners on this for the Middle East. I hope to be going over to the Middle East myself, but you can donate now at mercury1.org. And this is a long-term thing that we really need your help to get this underway.
I'm really hoping to get over to the Middle East, too. It's just, it's been a struggle. So far, it's been a struggle, I'll tell you.
Such a jerk. Here's our sponsor this half hour. It is Simply Safe. Simply Safe protects your home and protects the people that you love from harm. They treat you like kings. They're incredibly hardworking, decent people dedicated to giving you the very best protection. They have professional monitoring every single second of every day, and it's $15, $14.99 a month. You're not going to get that anyplace else. Anyone can afford it with no long-term contracts, no commitments, and you own the system. There's no better way to protect your home than Simply Safe. Right now, you can get a 10% discount by going to simplysafebeck.com. That's simplysafebeck.com. Get your 10% discount. Protect your home the way we do. simplysafebeck.com.
Got something to say?
888-727-BECK.
Dial in and let it out.
The Blaze Radio Network.
You know, we live in really scary times, especially for our power grid. And at a time